Sandhills Global. Join a dynamic team where your skills are valued and your career can soar. We offer full-time positions with a 4.5-day work week, competitive pay, excellent benefits, and a positive work environment. From IT and marketing to sales and finance, we're looking for talented individuals just like you. Apply today at sandhills.jobs and take the first step towards an exciting future. That's sandhills.jobs. Don't wait, apply now.
This isn't any regular heat. This is nuclear heat. Live from the 93.7 The Ticket studios in the heart of Lincoln, America. Bringing you the latest from the Square Circle on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com. Here is your host, Jake Bockoven.
Hello and welcome to Nuclear Heat here on 93.7 The Ticket. I'm Jake Bockoven here in studio with you as it is one of my favorite weeks in the WWE calendar. It is time to get ready for Royal Rumble. Just so happens this year, they also led into that with the big Saturday night main event, as well as some good programming on Raw and SmackDown. So we got plenty to talk about here on Nuclear Heat on 93.7 The Ticket. Augie, I don't think we can hear from you. Usually my partner, Augie Pena, is here with me. He is joining me here via stream, and we'll see if we can get hearing from him. Just it looked like his mic wasn't connected. So hopefully we're hear from Augie. Otherwise, I'm going solo. I'm joining the singles ranks. I'm ready for my shot to try to go up the roster there in WWE terms. No, just kidding. Hopefully I'll get my tag team partner coming in here. But again, it is a very big week for pro wrestling and the WWE. I think we can hear from you now. Augie, how's it going?
It's going pretty good. Can you guys hear? Can you hear me now?
We can hear you now. Yes, yes.
Nice. Yep. I'm not ready to get left behind and have you have that singles push just yet. I'm still going to drag you down here in the tag team division.
All right, so that will work. That we will. That's what we'll keep doing. There's always one stronger than the other in the tag team, right? So somebody's going to eventually get a singles push. We'll see who it is. I told you with Pretty Deadly, I didn't expect Kit Wilson to be the one, but he's got one of the most popular entrances in the WWE right now. We'll see if they can kind of propel him as a single star.
Yeah, it's funny how sometimes, the obvious star, whether it's injury or just something going wrong, just being the one pushed too much is the one that gets left behind. So that's pretty funny. I wonder which one of us would be the Kit Wilson of the group here. I guess hopefully we won't find out. Hopefully we'll keep doing this together.
Yeah. And I'm a big fan of Elton Prince too. So when he comes back for injury, I'm wondering if they're, where Kit Wilson will be, if they'll be able to get those guys going again. And I'll continue to say Pretty Deadly was best that one weekend when they were helping out with Tiffany Stratton. I thought that was awesome. So we'll see if they can kind of get those people back into contention and on the screen here for weekly programming. But we've got plenty to talk about, so I don't want to spend too much time on Pretty Deadly. Let's jump into some of the major storylines around WWE. Once again, we'll review Raw, we'll review SmackDown, and we'll start out with Saturday night's main event. But before all that, don't want to bury the lead. Once again, it's my favorite time of the year, the Royal Rumble. I like it more than WrestleMania. WrestleMania has all the glamour and all the excitement, but just the format of the Royal Rumble is so fun with the fans counting down, the big returns, the surprise entrances, then the finishes. It comes down to the final four. That's always one of my favorite. And then the final who they decide to push for WrestleMania. And sometimes we agree, sometimes we disagree. Sometimes the crowd is booing, sometimes they're overwhelmed. So a lot of fun to be had one way or the other at Royal Rumble. Also like Money in the Bank, but I think if I ranked them all, I'd put Royal Rumble first, and then you got to get WrestleMania in there pretty quickly. But this year, of course, Royal Rumble coming from Saudi Arabia. It's a busy week of travel too for everybody in the WWE, jumping over from their European tour. Their show there in Raw was in Ireland. The show on SmackDown, and then as Saturday night's main event was in Canada, and now headed to Saudi Arabia. So a lot to kind of happen. So I got to open up with Augie. I'm going to ask everybody all week, so I want you to go first. You got a favorite for the Royal Rumble, men's and women's, this week?
I'm going to say it's got to be Roman Reigns, just kind of a little bit how they played it up. And, they did do kind of a weak announcement. I would have preferred not have him kind of be announced the way he was with just like a little trailer for it. But yeah, I think I got to go Roman Reigns. But in my head, I'm thinking we're going to have a guy that's going to have won it 3 out of 4 years. And I'm going to be very upset, just like I was last year in Cody Rhodes.
Yeah, that's certainly a possibility too. Anybody from the women's side that you think is going to take home the victory here?
Yeah, I think it'd be interesting if it was like a Liv Morgan that won it this year. She was kind of on the top before she got that injury, and I know she's in the tag team portion there, but she always comes through and is always a big favorite. Or if it's not her, maybe Tiffany Stratton comes back. And then you see a Stephanie versus Tiffany. But then, some of those reports, I think Bianca, is kind of a heavy favorite to be a surprise because, Jade and all that. But yeah, I would go with Liv Morgan.
Yeah, and then we've also got potential surprise entries. Chris Jericho, certainly one people thought might return for Raw is Jericho. You mentioned Bianca Belair. I mean, I agree. I think they got to do something with Jade Cargill. They got to get something going.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if Jordan Grace winning it would necessarily get people up and going. Certainly potential for Chad Gable or anybody that's been injured. I mean, Seth Rollins to make returns. I don't know if anybody's in on those timelines, but that would be fun. And then Obafemi, he's been getting a lot of screen time recently for just vignettes or promos, right? To bring him in. So a lot of people are expecting that to be at Royal Rumble. Then you get kind of your outside chances who you want to see from AEW and all that sort of stuff. So hopefully this year, and I've talked about it in the past, what made it so special of an event at one time was those surprises and was bringing back the legends. And of course, WWE relies on those legends so much. They've pretty much brought back everybody. And so the last years, a lot of it's kind of been, okay, NXT opportunities and, hey, this is going to be the future, which is also not a bad way to do it, but doesn't quite tug on my heartstrings as much as kind of seeing the old guys go back out there. So certainly could see it. Adolph Ziggler, Hardy Boys or something, from TNA. WWE's been buying up the rights from a lot of these companies as well. What do they have? AAA. You can definitely see AAA people join in as well. So it'll be interesting. They've got a lot of talent to work with this year without having to really sign them on to a long-term deal. So could be exciting. I agree with you. I mean, though, it's interesting. The Royal Rumble also could be viewed historically as a chance to give somebody a victory that can't otherwise walk up and ask for a title match, right? And so that's what I'm kind of interested in what they do. It's kind of gone away from that a little bit. Jey Uso certainly was an example of that. Not everybody took to that so happily, including yourself and me. I mean, as it was a surprise. It was kind of fun to go about that route, but was he ready for that stage? And kind of, eventually kind of felt forced on you. Although he did also say this week that he's going to be in the Royal Rumble, so he's going to go after it for a second time. But it is interesting, with Cody Rhodes winning twice, that's another guy that probably could walk up and ask for a championship match and get it. I mean, he was just the champion. Roman Reigns, another situation there, who I think is the favorite, like you were saying, along with Cody. So it's interesting. Are they going to go that angle? Because those guys are going to be in have title opportunities, and probably, I'm blanking on the name, the premium live event right before WrestleMania. They'll probably be in that Elimination Chamber, right?
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. We both were blanking on that.
Right. It's not quite what Royal Rumble is, but it also is an opportunity usually to see who's going to go to WrestleMania. So, I'm just interested and intrigued and fascinated. And again, I don't even know if I'm more excited to see potential returns or who ultimately wins this thing on either side. I will say one thing that's missing a little bit from this year is the ultimate, kind of like when Roman Reigns was a champion for the longest time, or sometimes it feels like Charlotte Flair is waiting for you on the other side. They're 4 champions right now to kind of pick from them. Just don't have long title reigns, or they don't feel overbearing. It's not Brock Lesnar at the top, right? By the way, Paul Heyman's had, I think it was Adam Pearce take a call with a big guy, and I don't know who that might be. So a lot of people speculating maybe that could be Lesnar or somebody else returning for a Royal Rumble. But when I look at these championships, certainly Drew McIntyre is getting involved with everybody. He's got a match that night with Sami Zayn, and you could certainly have Cody Rhodes or Jacob Fatu win this thing and set something up there. But he just got the title, and he's got a history of not having very long title or very successful title reigns. So I think they need to build on him a little bit. And then, you just kind of look at from the other La Primera, new title holder, Jade Cargill, like you mentioned, they're really missing anything there. They need to get something rolling there. And so you can win the Rumble. And then CM Punk's obviously probably the best example of a guy that, that somebody might win this Rumble and what to take down. But even him, I've said before about, his title reign, it just hasn't really gone anywhere yet. It's there. And has defended it most recently against Finn Balor, but it hasn't been a long-term title either. So I guess my point is nobody at the top feels like unmovable objects or like they feel like they're at the top for now. They don't feel like they're, the big stars that are kind of overlooking the rest of WWE and keeping opportunities down and all that. So, it's a small complaint, I suppose, heading into Rumble season. They've got all these other things going on at Saturday Night main event, but usually it's, part of it is what are you winning? And that is an opportunity at WrestleMania. And then the next question is who are you choosing to go after? And I just don't know if there's a big time like, whoa, they're going after them instead of them. I just don't know if there's a big fish at the top of WWE right now with the belt.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. And I think another thing they're missing on is I loved when they introduced Saturday Night Main Event, right? Like that was a fun. I thought it'd be a one-off, but now they're doing it a week before, the big premium live events. Like look at the build up to WrestleMania. Not until last week, Cody Rhodes was the first entrant, for the men, and on the women's side, I couldn't tell you, what their roster looked like, we'll look out there. They have a couple, discussions about it. But no, I agree with you, Jade Cargill, and this was a stat that was brought up. She's been champion for 70 days and has not defended that title once. I think she's had like 2 matches since then. And now, talk about really missing the mark there. And I think she's the longest reigning champ, if I'm not mistaken, because I think Stephanie Vaquera is also only in like 50 days, and then CM Punk and Drew McIntyre, of course, haven't been champs so long. So yeah, you're right. And then I picked Roman Reigns as my absolute favorite, and then I forgot about the guy who retired John Cena, right? The guy who they're supposed to be pushing to the moon in Gunther. So I guess we'll have to see kind of where they go from that. And then I don't know if you saw it, Jake, but Saudi Arabia, or I don't know if it's AR or not, they put up a poster for the Royal Rumble. And have you seen some of what those spoilers look like there?
I've seen people talking about it. I haven't looked so closely at it. What is it? Because it's like half of a face of everybody, right?
Yeah, it's half of a face of everybody. And there's one name. If you haven't seen it, I kind of don't want to spoil it for you, but I'm like, okay, that's going to be a fun return, right? But it's one of those, this guy's going to return for, 2 minutes in the ring and then just absolutely be just tossed back out because I think he's got to be like 60 at this point. So, but fun. That's what we want. But the age of social media, everything's kind of ruined, right? So those surprises on there, but I'm still waiting on the day where The Rock, Batista, Stone Cold, that they all come out of retirement and just decide to grace us with the best Royal Rumble surprise entrance we've ever had.
Yeah. Hopefully someday we'll see that. There is rumors again going on about maybe bring The Rock back for WrestleMania, and he could get a nice paycheck for doing so. So maybe they could tie up the story there with Cody Rhodes at some point or something there. But we'll see. It'll definitely be exciting. Again, to me, I like, even if it is an old veteran, it's the pop, the sound, the surprise, the excitement. But to your point too, part of it is a little bit frustrating because it is that day and age of social media. Is how do you keep everything quiet? And we've seen kind of WWE with their new documentary series on Netflix, going through the whole Seth Rollins fake injury thing. And so it'll be interesting to see kind of how we go about that because, even as we enter another kind of big event, and it's kind of confusing, Gunther is taking on AJ Styles, and AJ Styles' career, he's putting his career on the line. Is that there's all these rumors and stuff going about how his contract ends in February. And again, is that, sometimes you have to kind of look at the source and try to see if you believe it and all that. But that really hurts a lot of the suspension and suspending your disbelief and all that sort of stuff. Is the more details you get about the behind the scenes work, the less exciting the product can be. So it's one of those things as wrestling fans, you do kind of have to keep your head down, or a lot of people like that, like to be the ones to be able to tell, hey, I knew this was happening, or I predict this will happen, or whatever, tell their friends. But yeah, it's tough to keep things kayfabe anymore.
Yeah, like when Drew McIntyre won the title, I opened Instagram where I follow him, and he's the one that spoiled it for me. He took a picture with it, and I'm like, Drew, it's like 4:00 here in the States, like SmackDown is not for another 3 hours. But yeah, I agree with all that there. The AJ Styles thing, I think it was only 5-6 years ago where they started releasing contracts, and saying things like, oh, this is that. So I agree. And then of course, his last minute match with Shinsuke, that was, I had no idea about that. They kind of do that kind of, really makes you think, kind of ruins, what could be a really great match tomorrow, in the retirement match. But if they're rushing in a match with Shinsuke on Saturday Night Main Event and all that stuff, then he's probably not long for the WWE after that.
Yeah, and it's interesting too. I mean, they could have gone a lot of different routes here, and they're building up Gunther to be, kind of the career ender right now. That's kind of what he's going after while he's not going after a title, which is good. But at the same time, he did declare for the Royal Rumble, and so it's just kind of confusing. Is he pulling double duty here on Saturday night? I believe he is. So then you kind of have to arrange that in a way. Obviously, the men's Royal Rumble likely would go at the end. I guess maybe you open up with that, but it does feel a little bit rushed. And in the way that we got here, obviously, the whole Monday night thing was funny because it was like, you could just see the whole promo coming of like, oh, well, what is it that you could possibly put on the line that would make me want to take this match if you're Gunther? And it was like, we've already, again, that's the partially of it being spoiled and all that, but he's already announced that this is going to be his final year in WWE. So it's just like, just walk me along. I know where the ending is, but we'll see kind of how we get there. And that's kind of the expectation again here. There's reports AJ Styles' contract ends in February, so they got to get this, kind of rush through the works. And if I had the chance, I guess compared to John Cena's year-long career kind of send-off, Goldberg's a different discussion. He hasn't really been with the guy. He just pops up here and there. But with John Cena, it was a year-long send-off. And so with AJ Styles, it's just kind of feels so quick.
Yeah, no, I agree. And he just announced just a couple months ago, that this was his last year. So I completely agree. But, kind of to stick with the AJ Styles things, I mean, talk about Royal Rumble entries, surprise. I think he's one of the biggest in the last decade. So kind of fitting, that he ends it there. But, I don't know, because didn't he just come back from like a very long injury as well? He was on the shelf for not too long, but we'll just have to catch it on Saturday, and that's what they're early in the morning too, right? I think the Royal Rumble's like at at 1. Okay,
yeah.
All right, I was getting a little worried it was gonna be like at 8:00 in the morning or something there, and we'd have to change our plans there. But yeah, for AJ, that'll be interesting. Like you said, I think that'd be the best way to start off the show. Right? Both the Royal Rumbles are the way you end it. So you can do that, and he can kind of get his flowers. And also kind of interesting that his retirement match would be, over there in Saudi Arabia, right? Yeah. Is where they're having it. That's another interesting thing. He didn't really announce it here in the States. They've been overseas. So we, if he really does retire on Saturday, you missed your chance to really book it to see one of your favorite wrestlers. That's AJ Styles.
Yeah, and then again to that point, if Gunther does beat AJ Styles, you kind of get the heat going once again for him. maybe this is a swerve. Maybe, maybe AJ Styles won't be retired till the end of February. And it'll have to be another match down the line. But it's just hard to imagine, if they're going to book this the way that they've booked it, right? Is that, I mean, Gunther can't lose to AJ Styles and then enter the Royal Rumble, and everybody's just kind of like, well, this isn't that big of a deal anymore. And then the other thing is, if Gunther does beat AJ Styles, it kind of goes back to that conversation I was talking about earlier. He kind of feels like the big dog that I'm talking about. So if he won the Royal Rumble, he would almost be the favorite against whoever he would choose from there, be it Drew McIntyre or CM Punk. All that to include, of course, Drew McIntyre and Gunther, as I've stated recently, hate the below the belt thing that they keep going back to. Both they're big heels that absolutely do not need to hit anybody below the belt ever. Just book them as strong champions that are hard to beat. Instead, they're throwing low blows left and right to get victories. So even your chance to build up some of your stars, sometimes they don't. They just book them to look a little bit weaker.
Yeah, and I'm gonna book a scenario here for you, Jake, that the both of us are just gonna hate with everything in us. Sami Zayn beats Damian Priest at the Royal Rumble, right?
Drew McIntyre.
Gunther wins the Royal Rumble. You now have Gunther going after Sami Zayn, who's the one that dethroned him at WrestleMania and took away that Intercontinental Championship. That's a story, right? That's the big bad can kind of conquer it. But I will tell you, if they go down that route, that would be a WrestleMania match that I just, I get Sami Zayn in that, he has his fans. If they really gave him that belt on Saturday, I just don't think I could really take him. I know that's what they've been building, right? He's the ultimate underdog. He's always tried to get that belt, but I don't think that would be something for me.
No, it's interesting too, because he's definitely going to be, the crowd favorite in that match. But they've put this all around, and I want to talk about this all together because Saturday Night Main Event was, and SmackDown was kind of in Montreal, and this was basically, I think, to make up for a couple years ago not giving him the win versus Roman Reigns, which felt like, at the time would have just been historic and huge, and there'd be so much momentum behind him. And then what do you do next? And that would always been the question with the bloodline from there. Of course, then you couldn't have had Cody Rhodes beat Roman Reigns and it mean as much. So we wouldn't have gone through as much through the Cody era. So again, I get why they did it. And the crowd was hot in Montreal for Sami Zayn, but it felt like it wasn't quite where it was at that time. And I think that this was kind of a way to pay that off or to give that back to the fans of Montreal. And I appreciate it, and I like Sami Zayn's story. And when he wins the title, thank God we don't have to deal with his story of never winning the Ultimate title that they bring up and then bury, whenever at their easiest disposal, whenever it's convenient, right? But if they've done it so much that if he just kind of wins, and I get it would still be the story. Like on paper, fight through Montreal and then win at Royal Rumble, and that's a huge deal heading into WrestleMania. But it's just so much less. It doesn't have the natural crowd fandom behind it, right? It's just it's kind of, again, what I don't like as a wrestling fan is things that are kind of cooked in or forced upon you rather than building off the natural momentum that somebody has. And so, I think if you were going to book Sami Zayn for the title at WrestleMania, it'd be so much better to do it through the Rumble because again, you're not as the champion, right?
Yeah.
So it is interesting.
Yeah.
Definitely a route they could go, but wouldn't be the way I would book it.
I'm just gonna be upset that it wasn't Randy Orton, winning this opportunity there to get it. But yeah, I get it. They could play that, give us 2 doses of Sami Zayn. I mean, they gave the win to Jey Uso last year, so it's they'll really give it to money sells, right? Just kind of who's over. And I mean, I know that reaction wasn't amazing, but you still, as much as I'm not for Sami Zayn being pushed like that, just that send off, kind of the reaction still gives you some chills, and shows it well. And him being of a Syrian descent, I believe, in Saudi Arabia, that's another moment. And the WWE, they're at the moment trying to they chase those. So that would be there. But yeah, I just don't I hope that's not the route they go, but I can 100% see him going that way too.
Well, it's interesting too because you're a big LA Knight guy, and that's become again in kind of wrestling people discussion because of the Netflix documentary once again, and it would be the same type of thing. I mean, it would just be so mistimed if he won it, and I think naturally you'd build up and it'd be exciting and it'd be like, man, they finally pushed him. So I mean, I'm not saying it would be bad booking, but it's kind of just similar to Sami Zayn. It's like, man, feels like you missed when the iron was hot. Like now you can go back and try to recreate that magic energy, and maybe some of it can, but it's just not what it could have been. But I suppose you're far down that line on LA Knight.
I don't think a Royal Rumble is the right way to go. I think if you're going to give him an opportunity to win something, it's Money in the Bank. Because he's been the runner-up. I think he was 2 out of the last 3 years. He was the runner-up. And of course, we saw the documentary, like you said, where he got, yelled at and all that because he messed up that ending there. But, I hate to say it, but this is like the one genuine year where it like you said, the champions are just kind of outside of CM Punk, who hasn't, done all that much with his reign, and hasn't had it. But this feels like a year where they need a superstar to chase it, like a bit, I hate to say this name, but like a Brock, we talk about Roman, even Gunther, a name like that, Cody, as much as I'd love an LA Knight to win it, even a Finn Balor, Dominic, someone fun like that. I think this is really the year they need them to be superstars to just keep that momentum going and have the hype be for real for WrestleMania.
Well, it's kind of interesting too, like a name like Braun Breaker, when you kind of think of a name that would be like the time is now to go for it. Just had a championship opportunity, so it doesn't mean as much, right? So it's highly unlikely that he'll win. And my goodness, has the vision been cooled off, which we can kind of get to once we get to the rest of the show. But man, so there are some. It's just kind of interesting to see the timing. But to your point, with Jey Uso winning, with nobody necessarily standing tall over the company, this year could be a fun one because we have our predictions, and likely it'll be one of the few guys that we mentioned at the top. That's usually how it is in the Royal Rumble. But again, with Jey Uso winning, kind of throws everything off. It could be anybody in this situation. So I think it would be very exciting. We better take a quick break so we can get to some of our review of this past week in WrestleMania instead of just looking instead of just looking forward to Royal Rumble. But Royal Rumble has that sort of effect on you, right? I mean, it's such a good time. So we'll take a quick break. We'll be back here on Nuclear Heat on 93.7 The Ticket.
Want to make the easy call? Call John Henry's. From leaky pipes to a broken AC, flickering lights to furnace fights, even drains and duct cleaning, we've got it handled. Plumbing, heating, air, and electrical, all under one trusted roof. Proudly serving homes across Lincoln, Omaha, and surrounding areas, and ready 24/7. Visit calljh.com or call
John Henry's. 435-5555. John Henry's Plumbing, Heating and Air,
and electrical.
Graham Tire presents life's greatest adventures.
Okay, take the worm, put it on the hook. Now bring your pole back and throw it forward. And just let the fish come to you.
I got a bite! It's a big one, Dad!
Great road trips start with great service. Graham Tire, your tire store next door, with 5 convenient Lincoln locations, getting you to the places that matter most.
With UBT, you've got total control over your money. Like Doug, who runs his game day tailgate like a well-oiled machine.
I got burgers, brats, chicken, dogs, plus all the fixins'. And with the UBT Go app, I can track my food spending from anywhere.
Pro move.
They don't call me Grill Sergeant for nothing.
No matter your goals, UBT helps you feel good about reaching them. Union Bank and Trust. Member FDIC.
MWR, a local company of Lincoln, is proud to announce they are able to offer their own post-frame building packages in metal to anyone desiring a building, whether you're a contractor or a DIYer. They can install your building as always, and they offer multiple different rib profiles and loads of color options, including the wood grain metal at great competitive prices. You can inquire at mwrbuildingandfence.com or just draw your desired building and submit it in their contact us page, and they'll get back to you. Call MWR today at 402-540-8966.
back to Nuclear Heat with your host, Jake Bockoven, on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Happy to be with you here on a Sunday evening. Once again here, talking some pro wrestling on 93.7 The Ticket. I'm Jake Bockoven. He is Augie Pena. And we do this show every week. So if you are a wrestling fan or know of some friends that like wrestling, tell them to tune in, get some local sports talk mixed with some wrestling here on 93.7 The Ticket. And we love to do it. And again, it's the perfect time of the year because the Royal Rumble is coming up. And I still believe that is just the best premium live event that the WWE does. So I'm very excited for it. But we do have to look back on the week as well. This is after all a week in review show. And they did have some title changes, some interesting feuds developing this past week. So I do want to jump in it. Let's start with Saturday night's main event, Augie. Cody Rhodes and Jacob Fatu never got to the match. The match never got started as Fatu attacked Cody Rhodes during the entrance. The brawl spilled all over the arena and literally all over. Went outside. They went up the stairs. They went outside to the popcorn stand. They just found themselves everywhere. The most entertaining part about this brawl was security trying to step up one by one and being taken out one by one. So that was kind of a lot of fun. The idiot security that WWE always hires, they never seem to get it right. But in any case, Drew McIntyre ends up getting involved and sends both of the competitors through tables here before we're done. And like I said, not before, nice shot below the belt to prove that he's a heel, I guess. I don't know. But this was an interestingly, obviously with both of them, hard to predict who was going to win this match. So a lot of people were predicting perhaps you have some sort of DQ or something go on here. And again, this is one they never had get going. I think the reason that I'm most excited for this, Augie, is because I think this could cost Cody Rhodes Royal Rumble, right? I mean, I think Jacob Fatu, certainly you have feuds going into Royal Rumble often where it starts by costing you your chance there. And that certainly could be the case here.
Yeah, that's exactly where I was going to go with that is, and especially, I know we'll get to a little bit later, but that segment on Friday Night SmackDown that they had, right? That got pretty personal, and I thought that's a great segment. And just seeing Cody Rhodes, I know we talk about it, we're tired of them, he's the QB1, the WWE, all that stuff that they like to call him. But, this is a good side of him to see, he's finally starting to crack. And, like you said, Jacob Fatu could probably cost him, or they cost each other, their opportunity. And then, you get kind of a heelish Cody Rhodes, because right now I think I wouldn't really call Jacob Fatu a heel, right? I think he's kind of an in-betweener. Like yes, he has the heelish tendencies, but I think you're still supposed to cheer him on. I'm a little confused with that, but I like how his character goes with it. But yeah, I think that could be a lot of fun. And then we wouldn't have to, go through another Cody Rhodes WrestleMania, where he's the Royal Rumble winner and the guy chasing the title.
Yeah, and again, who knows? Maybe that's the way you print money over there at WWE, is continue to see if you can get everything and more out of Cody Rhodes. They might do that. Certainly wouldn't be surprised, but there is a little bit of fatigue, and Cody Rhodes even acknowledged it in one of his promos, kind of with where his character has been over the years. I think just even sometimes who you work with can kind of bring back some interest. And there's been a few times I'd like to fast forward through some Cody Rhodes segments, but here with Jacob Fatu getting back in the mix, and Drew McIntyre, as part of it is definitely been entertaining, and certainly a chance at a triple threat at some point between these three. Drew McIntyre's attacking everybody on the roster. That was Sami Zayn and everybody. So you never know where this heads, but it does feel fresh, and I think that's among the most important. Let's jump to the tag team titles from Saturday night's main event. Rhea Ripley and Io Sky against Liv Morgan and Roxanne Perez, of course, of the Judgment Day. This was the heels were dominating early in this match. Judgment Day was by denying Io a chance to get to the corner and tag Rhea Ripley. And of course, this led to a hot tag for Rhea at one point. I thought the Judgment Day won, as well as did everybody else that was watching, because Perez delivered a Pop Rocks and should have got a 3 count on Rhea Ripley. There's a little bit of a mistimed. The referee had to stop before actually going down on the 3 count. So that was interesting. And then the champs nearly had their own pin, but Raquel Rodriguez broke it up. A very unique way to do that. Came from out of nowhere. to get Rhea Ripley to drop down on the pin. So that was really good. Predictably from there, Stephanie McGuire comes out to attack Raquel Rodriguez. Predictable can be good. I'm not saying that was bad, but it was obviously kind of the next chapter there in this story. And so you had that. Then Liv got a little bit confused, seems like, about who was the legal man. She went and hit Io with an Oblivion. Rhea hit her with a Riptide for the win. So Rio moves on here. Rhea and Io Sky as the champs, which is predictable. Again, this was their kind of their first title defense, made for good. The only problem I have it all together, unless this is setting up for the old, hey, here's somebody that lost right before Royal Rumble and they come and get the win, is bringing Liv Morgan back. She's getting huge reactions. Everybody agrees she's one of the top wrestlers and just characters in WWE right now. And this has kind of been a slow return, kind of getting her back in the Judgment Day, where she's going to be, where is she going to go here. Specifically taking a pin. It's not that I think it was the wrong move in this situation. And again, it all can be bettered if you go ahead and make Liv Morgan win the Royal Rumble. But if I was going to have the ideal return for what a lot of people were waiting, more so than many other wrestlers that were on the shelf, I probably wouldn't have done it this way.
Yeah, no, I agree. Outside of the botch, like you said, from Rio, where she didn't get there, and then having Liv take the pin, I think that was the only kind of blemish on this match. I thought it was a fun match. Yeah. Match of the night contention. Just a lot of chemistry between the four of them on there. But yeah, that's why you have Roxanne Perez, on the team. She's a rookie. She's like 23, 24 years old. I know Liv's still young, but she is the vet. The champ. Like you said, she just came back, and she still gets the pops. That's where you have her take it. So that's kind of, after watching that, that's kind of where I was like, she could be somebody that wins this Royal Rumble now, because as we've talked about several times, WWE loves to do the, oh yeah, as you mentioned, they just lost, so here we go, they're gonna win. And I think with Liv, it could be a lot of fun. Maybe Liv, because the Judgment Day, the whole, breaking up thing, could be really interesting with Roxanne and Liv both being in the Royal Rumble.
Yeah, it certainly could. And it would be an interesting time. Of course, if you're following along, Finn Balor just came out to his old music. Are they turning him face? Would be an interesting time there. The only problem with it, and certainly you could have kind of the Roxanne Perez or Liv Morgan turn, if you will, at Royal Rumble, which would certainly be interesting. The only problem is right now you don't have the health of Dominic Mysterio. You need Dominic Mysterio as part of the story. Yeah. And he's not healthy. We prefer to at least have JD McDonough back. So, that might prevent them from calling the breaks here, but certainly could be something to look out for, because, a lot of times when you're thinking one way, they can surprise you a different way. So we'll see if they go about that. But yeah. And again, I know you're not the biggest fan of Rhea Ripley and Io Sky. But the crowd reaction is still there. So I think, again, there's some money to be printed with them as tag champs, and the tag division. That's what makes the women's Royal Rumble so interesting this year. Is I think all the favorites come from the tag division right now, because all the single stars kind of joined together, and there's no obvious choice among current single stars to go out there and get it. So why Liv Morgan feels like the favorite, but it can't be by a long shot.
Yeah, no, agreed. And the Royal Rumble, I mean, I know there'd be too many storylines to break up, but the Royal Rumble could be the perfect time, to start, Charlotte, Alexa, Rhea, Io, all that stuff. But yeah, Rhea Ripley, I mean, she's always, she's the John Cena of this women's generation, right? I hate to put it in there because I love John Cena, but you have your chosen one, right? And she is the crowd favorite. She's, I would say she's probably what, 6 foot. She's tall. She's got the move sets, everything like that. So she's got to be. And then Io, Io always gives moments in that. So yeah, it'll be an interesting year on that one. And like I said, Tiffany Stratton could still come back. I see she's been posting on her social media now, so she might be cleared. And Bianca Belair, so those are kind of like the only two major players, I would say, and AJ Lee, I guess, if she comes back, that could be another one. But yeah, they're all coming from that, and it could be a fun, juicy time, to get some of these rivalries started, because one accidentally hits the other one off the top rope, and eliminates them from the Royal Rumble, or, they get greedy and they got to go, you see those fun where they like handshake and then go after each other. So, it could be a really fun time with that. And that's an exciting thing to see in 6 days.
As long as it's not the Usos doing it to one another, and then we completely ignore it the next week. But we
man.
Again. We then go from there for the Saturday night's main event to AJ Styles and Shinsuke Nakamura. Very long, even match. Again, this was not given much of a build. Was announced on SmackDown here Friday, but still at least a kind of a classic rivalry to fall back on if this will be AJ Styles' final victory. And he does indeed get the victory. A phenomenal forearm and Styles clash, as usual throughout his career, can do that for you. Also interesting, kind of a lot of kind of nods to his history throughout the match. Again, making it feel more like this could be the end. Even brought out a mask. You don't often see AJ Styles with a mask. This was a mask that he wore back in 2016 against Shinsuke Nakamura in New Japan. So, again, I mean, this is definitely the way you go about it. A good way to get AJ Styles one last victory and big match if it is indeed the end. But it all is lining up that way.
Yeah, and fun match. Where is this Shinsuke Nakamura always at, right? Like this is why we're a little upset with kind of his pushes there. But yeah, I thought this was another fun match. Kind of like John Cena and AJ, no real buildup. Just here we go. So I thought it was good there. And the one gripe I'm gonna have, and I kind of forgot to mention it about the AJ Styles retirement tour, they needed to have one match against Finn Balor as the two aces of the Bullet Club. I mean, come on, that would have been a lot of fun to see there. But yeah, this was fun for where it is. And, maybe we just got one more AJ Styles match.
Yeah, we'll see. That would be a good idea. They've thrown that out a few times, but as part of the retirement tour, I think that would have been great. Before we get to the end of this segment, we got to talk about the Fatal 4-Way. Sami Zayn getting the victory there in Montreal, earns a shot at Drew McIntyre at Royal Rumble. Of course, that means that he's not going to. Well, at least I think it means he's not going to participate in the Royal Rumble, but Gunther, again, seems like he's going to. But Sami Zayn, yeah, the pick over Damian Priest, Randy Orton, and Trick Williams. The match was entertaining enough. A lot of good spots for everybody. Ultimately, Sami pins Damian Priest here. But I thought this was what I really liked about this whole, I don't want to call it a feud, but kind of build up to this Fatal 4, and they've done a good job. It's kind of paint by the numbers there, SmackDown main event, all that sort of stuff. So we don't have to go through too much over that, but at least kind of putting everybody at odds. Randy Orton kind of feeling like the favorite, I suppose, going into it. Sami Zayn certainly still chasing that championship. I thought Trick Williams, and I we talk about this. I don't really watch a whole lot of NXT or try to get an idea of what these guys are coming in. Some wrestling fans do. I prefer to kind of learn the character when they arrive and on the main roster and kind of judge them from there, because that's when a vast majority of wrestling fans see them. And it is a big spot to put them in, to work with these three, considering where they've been on the card over the years, and him coming and jumping right in. And so I was kind of interested, what's his character? Who is he? What is all that, what kind of wrestler is he? All of that. And I got to say, I've been pretty impressed so far. Obviously, you're going to have to move along and really kind of get into a feud and develop his character as it goes. But for throwing somebody in with the Sharks, I thought he did a really good job throughout all this.
Yeah, no, I agree. And it almost feels like he's like the rookie getting hazed by the veterans, right? Which is kind of how everything, like Friday Night SmackDown. Yeah, and he's doing a phenomenal job, and he's great in the ring. That's kind of the other thing. He's uber athletic. So yeah, I agree. That was kind of the big thing there. And I'm just gonna, I'm gonna keep saying it. They missed an opportunity for Randy Orton, to go after that title, and I'm just gonna be bummed about it for the rest of it, until Orton wins that next title.
Yeah, and again, he's one of those guys that can walk up and any night they could say, yeah, he's got a ton, and be like, yeah, he definitely deserves it. So he doesn't necessarily have to win his way in all the time, but he is going for number 15, and I would like to see. I'll be interested if toward the end of his career here, they want to make him even tie Ric Flair would be huge, but obviously to go on and maybe do the never seen 17 himself. We'll have to see what they do. He's definitely over, and one of the best wrestlers still alive today. So in the game today. So we'll see if they pull that trigger. Let's go ahead and take a quick break here again on Nuclear Heat. We'll talk about SmackDown and Raw from this previous week. particularly the highlights as we wrap up the show.
Winter is just around the corner. Is your vehicle ready? Don't get left out in the cold. At A1 Automotive, we prep your car for whatever winter throws your way here in Nebraska. For battery checks, brake inspections, tires, heaters, whatever your car needs to keep you and your family safe on the road, we've got you covered. A1 Automotive, always honest answers.
In a world where Wi-Fi battles rage and bandwidth is never enough, one family dares to connect it all. Work from home, influence all day, stream all night, and game to win. Deadlines, downloads, and dance-offs, all happening under one roof, flawlessly. Can your internet provider do that? Fiber fuel your household at allofiber.com/all-in.
Mike, I've been thinking our house could really use a makeover. How about new siding?
I've been thinking the same thing. Have you heard of James Hardy?
Yes. Sarah down the street had Roofing Service Company install James Hardy siding on their home, and they love it.
Roofing Service Company does have great reviews.
They took her through the design process and made everything super easy.
Roofing Service Company offers expert design and installation. Couple that with James Hardy's durable products and variety of colors, you and your family will love your exterior remodel. Just visit roofingservicecompany.com. That's roofingservicecompany.com.
Hey there, this is Paul Scheel, owner of High Electric. I want to thank our friends and loyal customers and introduce High Electric to those looking for a new electrician. We've been serving the Lincoln and Omaha area for over 30 years, from design to install, upgrades, and repair. If you're a homeowner or a small business needing some electrical work, call us at 402-466-6606 or check us out at hyelectric.com. We look forward to hearing from you.
Back to Nuclear Heat with your host, Jake Bockoven, on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
We're back to talk the pro wrestling here on 93.7 The Ticket. It is our WWE Week in Review show, as well as a preview for the Royal Rumble coming up this week. We've been through Saturday night's main event. We've talked all about the Royal Rumble and the big names going into that event. Let's go ahead and talk about the weekly programming from this last week, WWE Raw and WWE SmackDown. And we'll kind of go through this pretty quickly. A lot of this we've already touched on. Raw opened up with Gunther declaring for the Royal Rumble, then challenged by AJ Styles. And of course, AJ Styles put his career on the line. We've talked plenty about that. Becky Lynch defended her title against Maxine Dupree, this time thanks to the help from Natalya. This was their 6th Intercontinental title match between the two, but it looks like finally moving off of that, as Maxine Dupree will now target Natalya, who wouldn't stop beating her down after the match.
Yep, the most expected turn of all time, is happened, and it's fine. We all saw this coming, so that's Natalya. She's on the roster. That's kind of where you can go with that.
And we'll see. It at least opens up Becky Lynch to do something now with her Intercontinental title. And again, I think she's fantastic with that. The Vision took on Rey Mysterio, Penta, and Dragon Lee. Obviously, all those being, luchadors, I couldn't help but think this is probably what LWO, could have looked like, or kind of a better combination or version of that. LWO, the last iteration of it anyways, didn't seem to have anybody on Penta's level in any case. But this was kind of fun. Adam Pearce was bickering with Paul Heyman. Pearce had to stop Austin Theory from using brass knuckles that he got from Logan Paul. Mysterio, though, picks them up and hits Theory with him, which allows Penta to hit the Mexican Destroyer for the win. Again, I get it all. This is, at least have to let the good guys get their shots in here and there. And so I think this will ultimately lead to the Vision getting their revenge. But as for this week, and as I've kind of stated throughout, the last couple of weeks, the Vision just is losing a lot. A lot of their steam. And Logan Paul, again, good for him, at least for actually being a full-time wrestler. Not just saying it. He's there kind of as a role player right now, kind of in the background in these losing feuds, but that's just not it. And then the other thing is, I thought of you when it happened, is there's Theory taking the pen.
Yep, it's exact same thing they've done with the Judgment Day, right? I mean, that you have a group that's supposed to, sky high. The only difference is, I think, with the vision is, at least with the Judgment Day, you had Finn Balor, you had Damien Priest, or Dominic Mysterio, guys that could afford to lose, right? And on the Vision side, I mean, they brought back Austin Theory, and he's now taking pins, 2 weeks in a row. Bronson Reed was supposed to be an up and comer. Not, he needs wins. And then, of course, Braun Breaker, who we all thought by now would probably be one of the faces of the WWE. He's on the losing side, all the time, or it's at least his faction losing, right? And he's losing title opportunities. So yeah, it's very puzzling. It's Wyatt Six, Judgment Day, the MFTs, all them, high potential, and it's like the WWE just doesn't know what to do with them. Back when we were younger, factions would dominate, would never lose, and now it's like they lose and it's rare, and you're surprised when they get a win.
Yeah, it's they're definitely not taking care of that faction, and even Logan Paul. I mean, you think about what he could do going into WrestleMania. He's just a name you can throw out there and have a big match, and now he's going to have to, I don't know, kind of fight from looking like he's hanging out with the guys that aren't quite getting it done. Again, all this with Paul Heyman behind him. I don't want to make it sound like they're bearing him every week. It just they from where they were even a month ago, kind of building up Braun Breaker to where they are now. Certainly, they do not feel as daunting as they once did. Had a quick match, not much to say here with El Grande Americano and Javon Evans. Evans appeared to have a real life injury and therefore had to forfeit. So he had that. And then to wrap up Raw, CM Punk and Finn Balor, the Irish crowd very behind Finn Balor, of course. He had his old entrance music and no Judgment Day teammates. So this was very much the closest thing we've seen to face Finn Balor in quite some time. As predicted, though, the crowd was very behind it. Finn Balor nearly got the win, but Punk kicks out of the coup de grace and hits the GTS for the victory. And again, that's good for CM Punk. This was kind of a microwave type of feud and title bout. But the question is here is, do you stick with the Finn Balor face side that you got, or was that just because you were in Ireland?
I think they should go with it. I know it was in Ireland, so he's going to get the biggest crowd reaction, but he's a fan favorite, and with the Judgment Day, I mean, you can only do so much, right? With losing. So maybe, if they go face with him there, he can be a serious title contender.
Yeah, and again, he doesn't have really any male partners to go out there and do heelish stuff by, winning by the numbers and all that sort of stuff. So this could be an interesting time to turn him and really set up a situation there for the breakup when everybody's healthy. So we'll have to wait and see. SmackDown, again, a lot of it was building up Saturday Night Main Event, so I don't have to go through too much of this. But Carmelo Hayes, once again, defeating Ilya Dragunov. And this was a fast-paced match. These guys obviously put on a good match. That's why they keep going back to it. Mad Dragon was busted open again at one point. The Miz cost Dragunov the match, which is interesting. His former partner, Carmelo Hayes, was not too happy about getting help, but so probably leading to a Miz Carmelo Hayes title match, an opportunity for the Miz, which it feels like they never quite paid off on that. They kind of had some run-ins and stuff like that, but it didn't feel like it hit the ultimate, which with a title match on the line could be a good deal. Of course, with the Miz and his place in the company at this point, which is to propel others forward and move them up, I wouldn't expect a Miz win. So I don't know how much they're going to get out of it. But at least you got Miz in his heelless character. I always say it. I love the Miz on TV, and he can always help, kind of move along a story one way or the other.
Yeah, and like you said, it's just fun to have him there. Just as long as they don't do jingles, or anything like that, have a sing off, a dance off. Let's just have the Miz, Carmelo Hayes just kind of go one-on-one. And I'll tell you what, I know we had Carmelo Hayes dead in the water, but I will say the WWE has done a pretty good job of turning him around. And making him at least an interesting character for the U.S. title.
Yeah. And then they needed to. It didn't seem like, and it's interesting. I don't know if they've done a whole lot as far as like a character change. And that's where it was like, okay, I was waiting because if you don't have the victories, you at least should have a character, right? And I don't think his character was interesting enough. Now they've given him the victories, which is fair because he's great in the ring. So you're kind of letting his in-ring work do the talk, which can carry you a long way in your career. Might not be everything, and we'll see if he can kind of develop some of those other aspects to it. But they've definitely got him in a much better spot than where we've seen. Again, I think they set him up for failure by making him the number 1 draft pick last time they had a draft. And it was obviously, he's taking him over huge names within the WWE and just never quite, hitting that promise. So we'll see. It's definitely, the U.S. title and the Open Challenge has been fantastic, and they've been putting guys that can put on matches as champions to go out there and represent it. And it's gone well so far. A couple other feuds I wanted to get to real quick. Chelsea Green versus Jade Cargill. Not necessarily a feud, maybe a short one here, but in any case, I thought they did a great job. Chelsea Green, of course, from Canada, was in the Monty gear, so that's always going to help. But recruited Jordan Grace to be part of the Secret Harvest. You could tell, with Chelsea's character kind of being a little bit airheaded, that Jordan Grace was not necessarily there for Chelsea Green, but she did help her out a little bit in the match. Of course, all trying to aim at getting to Jade Cargill. Jade Cargill, of course, this was a quick match. I would have liked Chelsea Green to always get a little bit more fun and maybe look her a little bit better in the ring. But I get it. I get what her job was in this. So Jade's push-ups and everything kind of made a quick match of this. Jordan Grace gets on the mic and says she'll go after Cargill when she wins the Royal Rumble. But again, I thought this is a great spot, and I talked about the Miz kind of bringing somebody up again with Chelsea Green, and we always sing her praises, but this Jade Cargill Jordan Grace thing doesn't have a whole lot to it. It looks good on paper. The crowd's not reacting. You throw Chelsea Green and some shenanigans in there, kind of makes the feud a little bit more fun, and so we'll see what they can kind of do next with it. But again, and they might have to learn the hard way. Grace and Cargill are going to have to do this themselves at some point and get that feud going if that's what they're going to run with.
Yeah, and it's really interesting because I thought this was setting up a match at the Royal Rumble, right? Like the championship match there, but now they're not, and it's been about like almost a month, right, of a build up, maybe 3 weeks of just build up between them, and I really don't think Grace is going to win the Royal Rumble. So maybe Elimination Chamber changes too after that, but I thought that was interesting. But yeah, Chelsea Green I thought was phenomenal. She's one of the kind of like the Miz, right? One of the few wrestlers that can just lose every week and still just have all the momentum in the world, and it would be no surprise. Honestly, if she won the Royal Rumble, I think the roof would just go off the building, and it'd just be the greatest thing. But that's just how good she is, and that's how appealing she is to the audience.
And I can't wait. I think I don't know if they accidentally did this and I don't know if Jordan Grace is the perfect character, but that's the next step, right? Is get her another member in the Secret Harvest, and you can kind of restart the comedy routine all over again. If they decide that, this is kind of the time to pull Chelsea Green from title contention. So, I think that could be great, especially for Jordan Grace to kind of work her way up, and then obviously, break away at some point and make her legit. But again, she needs something more than the muscles to kind of make her interesting. And I think Chelsea Green could do that. The only other thing I want to talk about this week is the MFTs are tag team champs. They did beat the Wyatt Six, and then we're able to defend those titles here. Of course, all this again over a lantern. The lantern seems to be supplanting the titles as far as importance goes. But Solo Sikoa and Tama Tonga win the titles off Joey Gacy and Dexter Lumis here. The one problem I continue to have with it is Uncle Howdy always looks weak. Uncle Howdy gets the lantern, but Sikoa gets it back, and Samoan spikes him, then hits Lumis with the lantern with the refs not looking. Tama Tonga finishes it off. First of all, love Tama Tonga keeping the face paint. I don't know if everybody is going to do that in the MFTs, but I love his potential and upside there. The other thing is, it does feel like the next chapter in this feud now that you've got Solo Sikoa and Tama Tonga, the most over members of the group, going after the championship. Now the question is, does Uncle Howdy join the mix? But again, what I said earlier, I don't know if I've seen Uncle Howdy ever win any sort of fisticuffs or fight that he's been in since they've done this. He's always taking pins. He's always getting knocked over. I understand it's Bo Dallas in there, so I don't know if I should expect a whole lot more. But I'm talking about not protecting somebody. Uncle Howdy's not protected whatsoever whenever things get physical.
Yeah, I'm telling you, they're gonna have a storyline where something happens to him and he turns into this mythical creature, supernatural creature. Because that's the only thing that can save him. Like you said, I think they've completely ruined it. It came off as, they were going to be this threatening, scary group. And he's not doing anything. He wrestles every once in a while. He takes the pins. He's lost his lantern. Like, that's a big deal. Like you said, I still don't get it either, but that's kind of like the most interesting thing. And his voice still, they're trying to do like a deeper thing with his voice, right? But you can still tell it's Bo Dallas under there. And I think that just kills it. I think for Bo Dallas, that whole Bo leave thing just kind of killed everything about him. And I know his brother, they try to tie it in there, but yeah, the most disappointing thing. And once again, I forgot they were the tag team champs until, this match and everything. And yeah, they just need to do something with the White Six, bring in Alexa Bliss, something to really get them going and then have them go on a win streak. I think that they got to change it up, because right now where it's at, just not going well.
Yeah, and we'll see. I mean, again, I think you got to get at least Uncle Howdy maybe involved, maybe Eric Rowan, they tried the Joey Gacy and Dexter Lumis stuff, did well for what it was, but maybe that could be a route you go. I think there are limitations to Eric Rowan to a degree as well, as Bo Dallas. So I don't know. Yeah. At some point, it might just be kind of what it is. And it's tough to do Supernatural. It's always tough to do Supernatural in WWE. They pulled it off really great, obviously, with the Undertaker characters and, the Boogeyman and all those sort of stuff back in the 80s and 90s. It was more easier to, I guess, go about those characters. It's tough with these type of characters in the modern day, and that's what made Bray Wyatt so special, is being able to pull off plenty of those. It's not as easy to do, and man, if they're not booked well, then good luck being a monster, right? So it's all that kind of factors in. Now the question though kind of becomes: you've got two. Should they unify the tag teams? Should we have Solo Sikoa and Tama Tonga go up against the Usos? Get the bloodline rivalry going again?
I think that'd be a lot of fun. That'd be interesting, right? They could show up and be like, hey, we got this too. Let's go for it. Because the men's tag team titles, at least on both sides, I could say, just need help. The Usos had to come back together to help. And on the SmackDown side, it's just been a mess forever. So I think that could be a lot of fun.
Yeah, we'll see. That sounds good, but the War Raiders also sound pretty good to WWE. So we'll see if that's the route they go as well. Thanks again, Augie, for joining me here on Nuclear Heat. When we come back, we'll be able to talk a little bit of Royal Rumble and the winners and marching toward WrestleMania. So it'll be great.
Yep. I'm excited for it. It's gonna be a fun time, and Nebraska's gonna beat Michigan too. So it's gonna be a great week.
It is gonna be a great week. Thanks for joining us. That'll wrap it up for Nuclear Heat. We'll be back once again, like I said, at 9 o'clock next Sunday to talk Royal Rumble. Thanks for joining us tonight. We'll see you next week.